everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today I have JJ Hurley joining me from GDH Consulting. JJ, thank you again for taking the time to chat. I do, before we get really kind of into the deep questions of it all, I thought I would love to give you a chance to introduce yourself to everyone just so that they can kind of see what your background is.
Great. Hi, everybody. And Brittany, thank you for having me on. As you said, I'm JJ Hurley, CEO of GDH Consulting. We are a workforce solutions firm based out of Oklahoma. We've got offices and team members all over the country and consultants and projects all over the country. I started the business back in 2001 when I was 26. I had been in the industry with another large international firm and got a wild hair that I thought I could do it on my own. So at 26, not knowing any better, without any kids and a wife that was in law school, I launched GDH. And it's been a heck of a ride in that time. And it's been a lot of fun and a lot of growth. And we're really proud to what we've built over these last 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And clearly you're doing a great job because congratulations are in order. You've recently earned the 15-year Diamond Best of Staffing Award, which is something I think less than 4% of staffing agencies have accomplished. So great work there. I'm curious though, what do you believe kind of sets GDH apart and has contributed to being able to win that award and other awards?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, we are very proud of that. And when we first were asked to try to qualify, really had no idea what it was. We had never done anything like that before. And it was very meaningful when we started getting the feedback and learning and that we did qualify. And really, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. And I hope people understand that. It's just treating people properly, which I know sounds so generic and vanilla, but boy, it's a lot harder to do than people think. In our industry, of course, we have so many what I consider stakeholders, and this is something we really work hard for at GDH. We look at our industry as we have three equal stakeholders. We've got our internal team, we've got our what we call client-facing employees, those that are external billing on projects, and we've got our clients. And from the very beginning, we have worked really hard to try to what we call love on, respect all three of those stakeholders, which if done well and done consistently and really at the end of the day, done sincerely, that's how we've been able to be awarded.
Yeah, I think that sincerity is such a key component of that. You can say, yeah, we're doing great things, but until you're actually meaning it and you're sincere about it, it really doesnand stick. So I'm curious, what kind of processes have you put in place to make sure that you're prioritizing client, candidate, and internal stakeholder satisfaction and making sure they're all happy?
Right. Well, clearly utilizing the resources that we have in terms of the surveys that we do, both from external third parties. One of the things that we have implemented, and it didn't start 15 years ago, and be very transparent, it just came to be over the years, is we have an entire team that are consultant care specialists. All they do, this is their job, is to reach out to our client-facing employees and work with them. How are they doing? What needs do they have? How's their project going? So that has played a role because we get amazing. And then so what we do is they almost interview every one of our employees externally on a regular basis. We get data back from them. We get, very transparent conversations, which allows us to then take that as a leadership team, see the data, act upon it, and then our client-facing employees, as an example, see the results of, hey, I mentioned this, and now this has taken. I would also say, and I joke with people, I went to the University of Arkansas, so math's not my strongest thing, right? But here's the math that we use at GDH. We talk a lot about 1 + 1 = 3. And what I mean by that is if we treat our internal teams respectfully, prepare them to be successful, give them every tool, they also will then treat our client-facing employees who are out on contract the same way. If you do those two things really well, the third, in terms of building trust with your clients, takes care of itself. So that 1 + 1 equals 3 is what our mantra is. And we do it on a regular basis.
I love that. Yeah. Do you have any, I'm curious, do you have any like memorable success stories or moments where you're like, it sticks in your mind of clearly this is working, from either your clients giving you certain feedback that it's just whatever you're doing is working, you can tell because of that if you
Yeah,
don't.
I mean, well, so it and again, this is gonna sound very simple, but a lot of times in any service industry, you really only hear the negatives, right? That's
Yeah.
usually the people that are vocal.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing. And we've had this where we have a client reach out to me as the CEO and say, hey, I just want to let you know your interaction with that client facing employee is what allowed us to be successful in a project. Or, hey, I just got done meeting with one of your internal employees. And I got to say that that was a totally different experience than what I've received with your competitors or other people in the industry. So it's little things like that that kind of give you the confidence and hey, we're kind of going down the right path. It also is just examples where you know, I'll talk to a client facing employee and they'll walk me through how great one of our team members was, how Jane did X or John did Y. And it's again, it's the things, little things going the extra mile. Hey, we had one of our employees who had car trouble. And so rather than the person missing a day of billing, our team member went and picked him up, took him to work, took him home. I mean, I know that sounds like something small, but that's not what everybody
No.
does. And so little things like that, and they just feed off each other. And so that's kind of it's great to get that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So aside from the obvious structure that you've put in place with continually managing that, candidate slash, external
Right,
external employee process where you're continually following up with them post, placement, which I think is
right.
something that is missed so often, frankly.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
like, oh, well, they're on assignment. We don't need to bother. And I'm like, well, do you want to keep working with them? Because if
right.
so, but are there any other specific strategies around that you've implemented, that are more not just getting the feedback, but also, yes, we, you know, every new placement, we do these types of things for them? Or is there anything else that you've added into that kind of process that you feel like is working for your organization?
As I mentioned earlier, the care coordinators do an amazing job. And
Yeah.
you hit it right on the head. So many people, in my opinion, in our industry, look at it as simply, hey, we worked really hard to put them on a project and let's go to the next one.
Yeah.
We've never lived that way. And I think it's short-sighted to live that way because at the end of the day, our clients have come to us and asked for support because they have a business critical project that has to be done. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we are on a regular basis. How's the project going? Is it, how can we assist you? So in terms of what we do, yeah, we have a lot of touch points. So if you're trying to maybe talk more the tactical side of it, we have a lot of touch points. When a candidate's going through the interview process, we are readily available, constantly with touch points. They're onboarding. We've gotten great praise from our client-facing employees, a part of our onboarding because they've experienced what we do versus somebody else. And really, at the end of the day, it's just being very available, right? It's that consultant care coordinator in our onboarding team constantly in dialogue with them. So we try to over communicate. People say that a lot, easier said than done, but that's the thing that we do. So then we don't ever want one of our CFEs ever feeling like, well, I didn't hear from anybody. Right.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it in our organization, not only are they having a touch point with their recruiter that helped them find the opportunity, they're having a touch point with what we call our account executive who works with the client on the project. They have touch point with our onboarding team. They have a touch point with our care coordinator team. I myself included, make calls every week to client facing employees to check on them, thank them. All of our leadership does that. So if you think about it, they've got 6 or 7 at a minimum touch points. And it's not, hey, did you get your timesheet in? It's a
Yeah.
touch point on how are you doing? How's the project? Is it what we told you it was going to be? Do you
Yeah.
need so again, That's not rocket science, and I'm not here to tell you that not everybody, that other people don't do it. They do. I think it's just we try to do it consistently,
Yeah.
and we're not perfect. It's the other thing I try to tell people. We're also vulnerable enough to know that we misstep from time to time. We just look at it as, hey, we got to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think you made a really good point about the touch points and the different people reaching out, because
Yeah,
I think that not only does it benefit the employee, the contingent employee, right? But that also benefits your organization because you're constantly in front of them. And it's
yeah,
not just, oh, well, my recruiter's out, so I don't know who else I could talk to, right? It's
right.
you've constantly shown them that we are here for you. And I think that's really important. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is just, how is technology playing a role in all of this, right? You talk about 6 or 7 different people talking to one candidate. Clearly, you have to have some organization and some structure behind that. So how have you kind of set up your tech stack to assist in all of that communication?
Yeah, definitely. Our CIO and his team have done an amazing job for us. We have a variety of tools, and I would be lying to you if I could walk you through each one of them. I feel like he's on a demo every week with some new tool. It all for us starts with Bullhorn. We, recently launched into Bullhorn about a year ago. That has been beneficial. And then with the tech stack, along with that, we're giving as many tools as we can to our producer side, that stakeholder that's internal, everything from access mobility wise with all of our tools, text us, surveys that are going out. So we've really embraced it because to your point, you can't, you also don't want to step on each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can love on somebody almost too much, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we definitely use that and we'll continue to do that. As we look at technology internally at GDH is how can we best equip our producers, our recruiters and salespeople to be the most efficient possible, but balance that we never lose the touch.
Yeah.
That's one thing we are very, very clear about. I'm a firm believer, everybody's a firm believer, that this piece of the equation, what you and I are doing today, is the most critical piece of what we do. Back, and not to jump back to, the touch points with our client-facing employees, but there also is a little bit of a selfish reason for doing that. In today's world, more so than ever, the referrals are the key for what we need to do. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope I don't get canceled for saying this. The job boards and all those years that I spent so much money with those, that's not what we do these days. So
Yeah.
we need that touch point, the individual, so that the CFE continues to build trust with us. They say, hey, I've got these 3 other people that'd be great for the project. So something that's important to us.
Yeah. And I know you're not as in the weeds as maybe your CIO or some of the people on the ground are, but you're partnering with Kyloe, and that's kind of how we came
Yes.
about having this conversation to utilize our tool called Data Tools, which helps streamline data integrity in Bullhorn. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like from your perspective, how does data integrity play a
Oh,
role in the overall strategy?
well, I'm so thankful. Thank you for bringing that up. I will tell you, it's been a game changer for us, and it's a game changer for me and the rest of our leadership team. I mean, I know y'all live this and preach it every day, bad data in, bad data out. And we lived that up until a year ago. And then with the support of what you all are helping us do, there's nothing worse than spending the money we spent on a tool and your CIO saying, hey, that dashboard we built, data might not be right
Yeah.
in terms of just because we have, unable to do it. So it's critical. It's what we do day in and day out. And I live in in the data. And it helps us make management decisions. It helps us better understand where the hot hand is. And our model is industry verticals. We're not so much a branch type organization like is somewhat typical in the workforce and staffing world. And so it really allows us to determine, hey, which industries are giving us the most job orders? What has the fastest to fill? What's our fill rate on A, B's, and C's? So it's been very meaningful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So on the topic of kind of foreseeing what's in the future, how do you see the staffing industry evolving when it comes to technology, when it comes to just the nature of the industry, right? How do you see that in the coming years? And do you have a plan? Obviously, you probably have a plan, but how are you preparing to adapt to those changes?
Yeah, I think it's just having dialogue. Again, back to what I said earlier with the three stakeholders. And because we're going to continue to use technology, but it's taking each of those individual stakeholders and making sure we're having meaningful dialogue with them about what they need, what they see on the horizon. And so I do that when I meet with our CTOs and CIOs that we are serving, right? I'm
Yeah.
asking them constantly what they're seeing in technology, what they're going to need. Okay. That then translates into where we can start to put and build our talent pools. When I meet with our client facing employees, what would make your job easier? What tools do you need? What do you need access to? What training do you need? What do you need as an employee of GDH's in our systems to allow you to be more efficient where I can take, and then the exact same conversation happens. So we're constantly having those conversations. We will continue to be more efficient. We have to use the tools or we'll be a step behind. Being a mid-sized company, in our industry, everybody knows this. You've got the smaller shops and you've got the billion-dollar shops, and GDH is kind of right here in that middle ground. It's incumbent upon us that we are keeping up with the billion-dollar firms and making sure we're, not missing a beat there so that our clients don't come to us and say, well, hey, here's what I got from, I won't name any of them, but we all know
Yeah.
who they are.
Whoever. Yeah.
Here's what they're able to do and what we need to be able to do. So it's something constantly. We talked about our CIO. He is at the table and has been with me forever. And when when we're at the table talking strategy, that is a huge piece of how do we implement it, but not lose the touch that makes us special. And that's a constant conversation we're having.
Yeah. So how do you, from your perspective, how do you maintain that balance between constantly innovating but maintaining your core values as an organization? What do you think you do that really has contributed to the success that you've seen over the years?
It's keeping the most important thing. And that's and again, I hate to sound like a broken record, and forgive the lightning just may have flashed in my face here in Oklahoma.
Totally
Sorry
fine.
about that. It's the 1 + 1 = 3. I mean, it's our job to give our internal teams every tool to be successful, every tool that allows them to do away with all the clutter that lets them do the one thing that they're really good at. And that's a
Yeah.
relationship building with this person. So when you ask, how do you balance it? You have to.
Yeah.
I don't want our internal teams worrying about processes or clicks. Like, we need to be as efficient and use every tool possible, to your point, every data point possible, to let them to do the thing. So that's really our rallying cry. What do we do to take away the distraction from them to let them do what they're really, really good at? So that's the key.
Yeah. I love that. And I think something you said earlier is just like resonating with me about the fact that you listen to all of the stakeholders, but you actually action what you're
Yes.
hearing. I think, obviously only when it makes sense to action it, or, when is it actually going to benefit the company? But the fact that you listen and take action is so important, because sometimes it's one or both of those are missed in the processes. We see that, naturally in the industry, especially with how COVID grew companies so
Yep.
quickly and so rapidly. Things got missed along the way. So the fact that you're really listening and then determining what's next based on that, I love that. I love to hear that. So
Well, and you have to listen, to your point earlier, because I mean, all these great fancy tools have dollar signs on them, and that's okay.
yeah,
That's what's expected. So again, I come back to the size firm we are. We have to be very strategic about where we're going to spend on our tech stack. We can't miss a beat. So we have to listen, and we have to make sure we implement properly. And if you listen, but you don't act, well, then you lose all trust with those stakeholders.
yeah,
And we don't want to do that.
yeah, absolutely. I just have one kind of final question for you, and it would be, what advice would you give to other, newer staffing firms or other even kind of staffing firms that have been in the industry a while, on like how to achieve recognition and excellence in the industry?
You know, I sound so repetitive and I apologize. It's simply making sure that you're doing everything in your power. We at GDH, we have created a culture statement, and it's care first.
Mhm.
And I tell people this all the time. It didn't come from some fancy marketing agency. It came back to the 15 years of being the award winning. We get that data back, right? When the survey comes, it's anonymous and we get it. And we started to see that woven over the years, the word kept being used by all three stakeholders. They care, they care, they care. And so we realized that's our culture statement. Saying that out loud really holds you accountable to live to it. And this is a really hard industry. It can be so defeating. It can be
Yeah.
so rewarding. And so we try to start every conversation and every decision we make with that, which may sound a little bit, I don't know what the word would be, lovey-dovey or Disney Channel, and that's not my intent, because you have to make hard decisions in our business, but you lead with that, everything else take care of itself. It just
Yeah.
really
You
will.
can make hard decisions and care about the people who those decisions impact.
And they see it and they know it, and they, that's the one thing they see first and
Yeah.
foremost. It's not, but needless to say, that's what I'd encourage everybody to do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, JJ. I really appreciate you taking the time today to chat. I know you're busy running an organization, but we really do appreciate it. And we appreciate all the insight that you provided. I think there's a lot, even though you say it's repetitive, I think some of it is worth drilling into the minds of others, right? So,
Well,
in the
thank you.
nicest way possible. But I think sometimes we lose that along the way because there's so many moving parts. So that care first, I love. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you letting me join. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk soon, JJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.